If you want to run a larger tire on your off-road vehicle, you're probably going to need two things. One of them is going to be a lift so that you can actually physically fit that bigger tire on your off-road vehicle. And the second is going to be some drivetrain modifications so that it doesn't drive super slow and get terrible gas mileage. What if I told you that there's now a mod available to the public that allows you to do both of those things at once? That's right, folks. We're talking about portal axles today, so don't go anywhere. Hey everybody, Matt McAdam here, aka Desert Chief, only on Driving Lines Chasing Dust. So today we're gonna do three things. We're gonna talk about what are portals or portal axles. We're gonna talk about what are some of the benefits of having portals on an off-road vehicle. And then we're gonna talk about some of the drawbacks of having portals as well. So first up, what actually is a portal axle? It's a kind of off-road suspension and drivetrain technology that allows the axle tube to actually sit above the center bore of the wheel. Essentially, it's like having four separate gearboxes on each corner of your vehicle. And of course, the point of a portal axle is to just give you more ground clearance from your drivetrain and your suspension. And because there's gears in there, you're actually able to manipulate the final drive ratio of each tire. We're going to get into some of those advantages in a little bit here. I'm not going to get into any of the history of portal axles. There are a number of vehicles that have had portal axles from the factory, the Hummer H1 being one that a lot of people may know of. Also the G550 or G-Wagon 4x4 squared has portals on it currently. And you may not know this, but some of the most advanced high-tech off-road motorsports vehicles, I'm talking about all-wheel drive trophy trucks that do the Baja 1000 races, they are now using the advantages of portals on those vehicles for the very first time. So there's definitely portals out there in the wild. This isn't a new technology that just came out. However, why I'm bringing it up now is because it is becoming available to consumers as an aftermarket option for their off-road vehicles. You guys may be familiar with 74 Weld. They are a manufacturer of portals among other suspension and body related components. And the cool thing is that 74 Weld isn't stopping at motorsports. They're actually building products to bring out to the public so that they can actually install these products on their consumer vehicles at home. 74 Weld currently offers their portals for the Jeep JL and JT Gladiator. They also provide them for the Ford Bronco and the Ranger Raptor, but the newest development is that they just released their portal kit for a whole host of Toyota vehicles. Now, they already had them for the 03 to 23 Toyota 4x4 trucks like the Tacoma, the 4Runner, FJ Cruiser, GX 470 and 460s, but they just released their new set of portals that are going to be for the newer vehicles that Toyota is offering. So this is pretty newsworthy stuff because that's a whole lot of people in the enthusiast space for off-road that now have an option to actually run portals on their vehicle. But you may be asking yourself, do I really need portals, and what's the benefit, and what are the cons? There's always some drawbacks. That's what I'm going to get into right now. All right, so next we're going to go into some of the benefits of portal axles. What makes portals so good? I mentioned this in the intro already, but two of the main benefits of portal axles are an increase in ground clearance and a reduction in the drivetrain gearing. When it comes to 74 Weld portals on the Bronco and the Toyota and some of the other vehicles they make them for, you can actually get almost a 4-inch lift out of just installing the portal on the vehicle without changing any of the suspension whatsoever. So that's pretty cool if you think about it, because a lot of these newer, more developed off-road vehicles like the Ford Ranger Raptor, the new Tacoma, they're all coming fully packed with really, really nice suspension, live valve shocks, things of that nature. And if you wanted to just put a bigger tire on that vehicle, ripping some of that stuff out just really hurts. I mean, the truck was built to work with that suspension. So the last thing that you want to do is just start tearing it apart and adding a bunch of aftermarket suspension components to something that's already pretty dang good. And with the portal, you don't have to do that. You just install the portal on the vehicle and boom, like that, you've already got the lift pre-built into the portal axle. Obviously, it's going to give you the lift you need, but it's also going to give you the ground clearance because it's now moving the belly pan of the truck, everything that typically would be hanging at its lowest. It brings it all up by about 4 inches as well. And that gives you a ton of ground clearance for rock crawling or for driving in the desert through tracks that typically are pretty deep. So being able to get all that higher up without actually touching the suspension whatsoever is a huge, huge plus. Now, because you're replacing your hub and your spindle with a portal axle, and there's gears now inside of it, there is some track width increase that happens when you install portals. For instance, for 74 Weld's new Toyota Tacoma portal kit, it does increase the track width by 2.75 inches per side. So you're actually getting a 5.5-inch wider track width just by installing portals on the Tacoma. Now, when I was talking to Quinn at 74 Weld, he was telling me that this is actually a benefit because now that you're lifting up the vehicle, the center of gravity is higher, but if you were widening it at the same time, then it actually doesn't change. It gives you a lot more stability both on-road and off-road, and we know that that's true because a lot of us that run long travel suspension systems that do increase the track width of our vehicles will tell you that the vehicle just feels more planted, whether you're off-road or on-road, making some sharp maneuvers. Having a wider vehicle just keeps the truck more stable in a lot of different ways. Another great benefit for those of you that have an IFS vehicle that are interested in running portals is that it actually keeps your CV axles pretty straight. One of the biggest complaints of IFS four-wheel drive vehicle owners is that they go through CV axles constantly. When you lift up a vehicle, now you have the differential sitting higher up, the tires are still down here, and you have those harsh angles on your CV axles, which lead to the boots tearing and the joints prematurely failing. When you install portals on a vehicle like that, now you have a much more alleviated CV angle, which means that your CV axles are going to hold up for a lot longer. So I already mentioned that two of the most useful reasons for running portals are that you get a lift and you get a gear reduction. But why is that actually important? Now, for off-road enthusiasts, there's a whole bunch of reasons for why you'd want a bigger tire on your vehicle. Now, of course, traditionally, the way of doing that is to lift the vehicle so that you have more room for bigger tires, and then to re-gear your truck's differential so that it drives better and you can gain some of your lost MPGs back. Let's take, for instance, a 2019 Jeep Wrangler JL. Comes factory with a 32-inch tire. Of course, that's with no lift, just the stock height of the suspension. Now, for the purposes of the example, let's say you leave the Jeep completely stock. You've done nothing to the suspension at all, and all you're adding to the vehicle is just a set of 74 Weld portal axles. And just by installing those portals and getting that 22% in gear reduction on each corner, you can now run a tire that is theoretically 22% larger than your stock 32-inch tires, which equates to a 39-inch tire. And of course, now you have the lift to be able to actually fit a 39-inch tire on your Jeep also because of the portals. So I hope I'm demonstrating the significance of what a portal can do for you, because just by installing those, you can go from a 32-inch tire to a 39-inch tire and the vehicle will essentially drive the same, and you haven't messed with the suspension or the drivetrain otherwise. Now that we've talked about all the benefits that you can expect when installing portal axles on your off-road vehicle, let's talk about those drawbacks. And really, there's only two that I can think of. Unlike your stock hubs on the vehicle, you actually have a gear set inside of your hub on a portal. So what that means is that there's gear oil in there to keep those gears lubricated. And just like any other gearbox on your vehicle, like your engine, your transmission, your differentials, that oil needs to be changed out regularly. But because there is such a small amount of oil in there, you do want to change that oil much more frequently than you would your standard differentials, which typically you change at about 30,000 miles. So 74 Weld actually recommends that you change the gear oil inside of your portal axles every 5,000 miles. Now, this isn't really a monumental task because there is only about 1.5 quarts of oil between all 4 of the portals on the vehicle, but still, it does add something to the list of things you have to do, and typically you'd probably do it at the same time you change your engine oil. For some of you guys, that might be a lot of maintenance, but for me, I actually enjoy maintaining my vehicle as well as maintaining the performance parts that I put a lot of my money into, so checking that oil every 5,000 miles is not that big of a deal for me, but it is something you have to add to your list. That'll typically be done at the same time of doing an engine oil change because that's about 5,000 miles too. And the second drawback that everybody wants to talk about is, of course, the cost of portals. Now, also, like I mentioned before, 74 Weld is really the only company out there that has a consumer-ready portal that they're making for a line of different vehicles that you can actually just go on their website and purchase and then install in your vehicle. It is making it easier for people to get to the actual products. However, it does cost about $20,000 for the whole car. Now, I know I'm already losing people by just throwing that number out there. 20 grand is not a small, insignificant amount of change to be dropping on your off-road vehicle. However, take it from somebody who has worked in a few off-road shops and built a lot of vehicles for people, as well as built a lot of vehicles for myself. I have easily spent $20,000 on a vehicle just to get the lift, the suspension, and the ride height, and the tires, and the gearing, and all that stuff. I've done that on multiple vehicles, and I've seen a lot of my customers in the past spend much more than that. So while it is a big chunk of change to drop all at once, it does offer a lot of benefits right out of the gate without needing to go in and change the suspension if you don't want to. So if there are commercially available portals to go on your vehicle, whether or not that makes sense for you is completely up to you and the circumstances around your build. Is upgrading your tire size a priority on your build? Is rock crawling and ground clearance really important to you? Is it also important to you to not mess with the suspension and drivetrain that comes with your vehicle? And then of course, is it gonna fit inside of your budget and your maintenance schedule? I hope this video armed you guys with the facts about portal axles. And if you have any additional questions, please go ahead and drop them in the comments below. I'd be happy to go in there and explain in further detail. And before I go, I just wanna make sure that you guys have subscribed to Driving Line so that you never miss another episode of Chasing Dust or all the other cool car enthusiast content that we create on this channel. And one last time, guys, my name is Matt McAdam, aka Desert Chief, only on Driving Line's Chasing Dust. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is Matt from Chasing Dust. Be sure to hit that subscribe button because Driving Line's creating all kinds of awesome content for gearheads just like you. I'll see you guys out there.